So at Rocky, we've always been about performance and ride quality and the importance of that. But whenever we design a bike, we want it to end up being ultimately the best in the category, no compromises. So the Slayer, our goal was to create the best enduro DH aggressive all-mountain bike possible. And to achieve this, we decided to start with a clean slate. As a result, we entertained a dozen different suspension configurations, narrowed it down to a select 4. I did a ton of sketching and then modeled them up, took our computer model and did some stress testing, some FEA on it. You can have something that looks good in theory, but then as soon as you put it on the computer and actually test out, you can see something that is highlighted as a stress zone or a stress riser in the frame that you wouldn't have anticipated otherwise. And it gives you a chance to move metal around and optimize the structure in the given configuration. It saves you a lot of time, it saves you a lot of money, and it speeds up the process. For this Slayer, SmoothLink was absolutely the best configuration. It allowed us to be as light as possible in the strongest configuration as possible, and was able to get a linear rising suspension rate, which was absolutely key for the suspension performance that we wanted. One of the goals of this project was to create a lightweight all-mountain bike that pedals really well. Geometry that we've been developing for the last few years is leading us in this direction. Straight up geometry is the premise that we pioneered here at Rocky. When you sit into the sag on your suspension, it puts you in the optimum power position for pedaling and pedaling efficiency, and that translates as soon as you get onto the bike. Weight was a huge contender in this category. We wanted to make sure that it was as light as possible, so every component was stripped down and analyzed to figure out if it was the lightest it could be. Working with an E-type front derailleur that bolts onto the swing arm allows us to get away with a much lighter yoke configuration and save some weight there. We've got an integrated rocker pivot, which allows us the lightest configuration for the strength benefits. The bottom bracket was another area that was worked on quite heavily for this bike, and came up with the concept of going with a 2-piece bottom bracket shell that allowed us to hog out all the material on the inside that's not needed and save as much weight as possible. Once we're happy with the design of it, then we build them and physically test them on fatigue testers to prove geometry concepts. So with these fatigue testers, we can run through different scenarios. Essentially what it does is it allows us the opportunity to test 5 years worth of fatigue life on a bike in 5 days, and it speeds up that process. So having the factory here in Vancouver is invaluable for us. Being able to cut tubes ourselves and weld it all here, we can test different concepts side by side, get them under riders as fast as possible, and get immediate feedback. Guys like Wade and Dre provide very technical feedback, as these guys have been riding Rocky for the last 15 years, and when it comes down to geometry, ride quality, ride feel, they know it inside and out. And they can provide very valuable input towards achieving the goals that we're striving for.
So really balanced climbing, the front, the rear. But the angle of the downhill seems, well, we didn't mostly climbing.
Put 2 clicks on it.
For me, the most exciting thing about this project was it's an evolution of the category. Pushing new limits in riding, we're pushing new limits in what we can do with materials. We're creating things that ride like Rockies, that are pushing what we know about riding bikes and also refining it to a whole new design level. Design is in the details, and this is where the 2011 Slayer really shines.